Earlier this week, the United Auto Workers Union called for a permanent ceasefire in Israel's war against Hamas. Representing hundreds of thousands of people and fresh off the heels of winning an historic contract for workers, the UAW is the latest and so far largest workers union to call for a ceasefire, joining a growing list of unions like the American Postal Workers Union, Starbucks Workers United, and a handful of smaller local unions who have also called for a ceasefire. But why? What do workers in the US have in common with the ongoing war in the Middle East? Why are labor unions joining the growing call for a ceasefire? We'll take a look at that question right now on Notice News. But first, you know the drill. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that bell to be notified when we post a new video. Announcing their decision to support a ceasefire, a spokesman said this.
The UAW International is calling for an immediate, permanent ceasefire in Israel and Palestine so that we can get to the work of building a lasting peace, building social justice, and building a community, a global community of solidarity.
And in a post on X, the president of the union, Shawn Fain, said he was proud of the move, noting that the union opposed fascism in World War II and mobilized against apartheid in South Africa. To understand why unions are supporting a ceasefire, you have to understand what unions are for in a larger sense. At their core, unions are groups of workers coming together in a common workplace or in a common industry to advocate and bargain for better pay and better working conditions. But to most unions, the struggle is bigger than that. It's about coming together to stand up to powerful forces, whether they be corporate, the government, or foreign governments more generally. As one labor leader put it, the working person's struggle in this country is the working person's struggle in Palestine. Cynthia Nixon, who is perhaps best known for her role on Sex and the City, but at one point ran as a progressive candidate for the governor of New York, describes the labor movement's position this way. Unions are about solidarity. Unions are about groups of people with less power and less rights coming together to challenge a more powerful, wealthier, more connected entity, the little guy standing up to the big guy, demanding justice, fairness, and humane treatment. That's what she said is lacking in Israel's response to the October 7th Hamas attack. So far, as of early December, some 15,000 Palestinians have been killed by Israel in revenge for the terror attack, the vast majority of the dead being women and children. New polling continues to show that people in the US overwhelmingly support a ceasefire in the Middle East, despite President Biden's vow to keep sending billions of our tax dollars to Israel to pay for their bombs. But there are also practical considerations for unions supporting a ceasefire. More money for the American imperial war machine means less money for domestic projects that benefit everyday workers like schools, roads, and Medicare for all. Ever notice how when our government wants to go to war, nobody asks, well, how are we going to pay for it? But when people want guaranteed healthcare, the media's all like, well, how are you going to pay for it? Also, the United Auto Workers Union is based in Detroit, home to one of the country's largest Muslim and Arab American populations. While in nearby Dearborn, Michigan, home to Ford, half the population is Muslim. But despite the growing chorus of unions calling for a permanent ceasefire, the nation's largest union, the AFL-CIO, has aligned with Joe Biden to reject calls for peace. But I want to know what you think. Should unions be calling for peace in the Middle East, standing with workers in Gaza, or should they just keep to negotiating better contracts and benefits? Let me know in the comments below.